So, obviously that was a little bit of a joke. Playing games by yourself doesn't have to be lonely. But that's what we're here to talk to you today about. Welcome to the Insta Gamers Network. Today, we're talking about solo games.
Friends, Chubby Meeple back here to talk to you again. Want to take 5 minutes of your time to talk to you about a tiny little game that you can play solo or cooperative with another player if you would like. I personally prefer it solo. That game is One Deck Dungeon, published by Asmati Games. Let's go to the table, take a look at how it plays, and I'll come back here and tell you my thoughts. In One Deck Dungeon, you're taking a hero down into the dungeon to defeat a big boss at the end of the dungeon. In this case, we're looking at the dragon. We simply slide the down here as a special ability here, meaning telling me I've got to discard the top 5 cards before entering the level. I shuffle my door cards. I place them on top of the stairs, which will be used to get down to the lower levels before I can fight. You're essentially going through 3 levels of the dungeon. You got to go through the entire deck, get to the stairs, move to level 2, reshuffle the cards, go through the deck again, get to the stairs, move to level 3, reshuffle the door cards again, you burn through the deck, get to the stairs, be able to fight the boss. Now, in the dungeon, every action you take, you discard 2 cards, and you can either explore, which lets you place 4 face-down door cards, or you can burn 2 cards to open a door. And behind the doors, you're either going to find a trap, which has you selecting the type of dice that you're going to roll and the way you're going to get around that trap. Or, in the case of the door I just opened, you're going to find a combat encounter against some kind of creature with some kind of special ability, usually, that happens before the encounter, and then a list of numbers. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be rolling the dice for your character. The warrior, for example, rolls 3 yellow, 2 purple, and a blue. So I've got those dice here. And I'm simply going to throw those dice out here and chuck those dice out. And then I'm going to try to combine those dice to equal the amounts on here. Now this is a shield, so I have to cover that first. So I need an 11 in yellow. So I've got 2 6s. We can use that. Well, there's a 6 and a 5. So there's my 11. I need a 3 in yellow. I can use my 6 here if I can get a hold of it. Drop the 6 that I had here. And then I need a 4, 5, and 6 all in blue. And I've only got a 1 blue. So those are going to stay exposed. Now what happens is once I've done with my roll, anything that's left exposed once I'm done placing dice determines what happens. So I've got the 3 blue items that are uncovered. So in this case, I'm going to take a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 damage, and I'm going to lose 2 time. Losing time simply means I get rid of that number of cards off the top of the deck. So in this case 2, and I'm going to take 4 damage. So I place 4 damage. If I ever get to my max damage, I lose. Game ends when either I kill the boss at the end of the dungeon or something in the dungeon kills me. Whether you're fighting a trap encounter or a creature encounter, once you have completed placing your dice, and as long as you didn't die during the encounter, so in this case I'm still alive, I didn't cover the 4, 5, and 6 in blue, but I still am considered to have successfully completed this particular encounter because I didn't die. Now I can take this card for one of 3 things. I can either take it for skill, for its items over here. So this would give me an additional health as well as let me roll an additional purple die. And if I wanted to take it for that, I simply would slide it right off to the side of my character card. So now I can see them lining up with the stats already printed on the cards. And then I would simply take another purple die into my pool so that I could then roll that for the future encounters. I could also choose to take this ice elemental for his skill. So I could spend 2 of my yellow dice to roll 2 purples and a yellow, essentially. And that would slide under here, listed with my additional skills on my card. Or, as my third option, I can choose to take this card for its experience. This particular card is worth 4 experience points because it's a rather nasty encounter. And if I go that route, I simply slide it under my level card so that I can see the number of experience points. And I need 7 in this case to get from level 1 to level 2. So that's where those cards go. Again, whether you've covered all of the boxes or not, as long as you don't die, it's considered a successful encounter, and you get to claim that card as either a skill, an item, or experience points. And the reason you want to level up is because as at level 1, I can only have 1 item and 2 skill cards, which does not count the skills on here. So I could only have 2 additional skills and 1 item card off to the side, and then I would need to level up so that I could have more items and more skills. That is One Deck Dungeon. So that's One Deck Dungeon. Definitely check this out if you're into solo games. It's a fun little dice chucker. Very quick to play, probably 30 minutes at the most, maybe a little longer if you're taking your time going through and taking a little bit of time with decisions. You've got 5 heroes to choose from, all of them drawn really well. They're all female as well, not scantily clad, more powerful. As a father of daughters, I love that fact. You've got a few monsters to choose from. There's 6 or 7 different monsters, all with varying levels of difficulty. Every single game you play is going to be different. The variability, just because you're reshuffling that deck and no 2 traps or no 2 monsters are going to come out in the same order at the same time. You may get one of those big monsters right out of the gate that you need a bunch of magic dice for, and you're playing a character that only rolls 1 magic dice. So it can be a little tricky, can be difficult, but it's a lot of fun. Definitely check this out. I'm the Chubby Meeple, and until next time, keep gaming, friends.
Hello everyone, my name's Annette, and you might know me on social media as Netters Plays, and today I'm going to talk to you about a solo game that I very much enjoy, and that is Herbaceous. Now, Herbaceous is a 1 to 4 player game, and it plays in about 20 or 30 minutes or so, but the solo play variant in this game is really great. I really love it, and let me go ahead and show you why and what makes it so unique and different. So here you have the game Herbaceous. And here's the deck of cards that you're going to play with. The deck of cards is going to consist of all of these different types of herbs, along with these number herbs as well. There are different sets of herbs that you'll need to collect and place in these pots. For example, in this pot right here, you'll need to collect sets of different types of herbs, or a variety of herbs. The more different, the more points you can gather. This one's a little bit different because you're trying to collect different sets of pairs. The more pairs, the more points. This one here is also a big pot of the same type of herbs, so you're going to try to collect as many of the same as possible. And again, the more the merrier. The glass jar is a little different because you can place any herb in that jar. You can place up to 3 different herbs, and you could potentially gather special bonus points. So the first thing you'll do is shuffle your deck of cards. You'll take out 36 cards from the deck, which is exactly half of the deck. So from the 36 cards, you're going to take out 1 card, you're going to place it face up. This will form your discard pile. You're going to also take out 2 cards, which will form your community garden. You'll place a divider that will signify the difference between your community garden and your private garden. The first step is to pot herbs. You can gather herbs from either your private garden and or the community garden. So say if I wanted to collect all 5 of these cards, because they're all different, I can collect them all and place them all in a pot right here. That signifies that those cards are all different, and then I won't be able to use that anymore. But I'll be able to score those points at the end of the game. Again, that's optional. The second step is mandatory. What you'll have to do is draw cards one at a time from the draw deck, and you will decide whether to place it in the community garden, your private garden, or the discard pile. So say if I were to draw this card, then I would have to decide which garden I want to place it in. Once you placed a card in, say, your private garden, then the next card you draw cannot go there. It would need to go into your community garden or your discard pile. Then that third card will go in the next location which you did not pick. If at any time the player decides to place a 5th card in the community garden, then all of the cards in the community garden are going to go ahead and be discarded. So the game will end when all pots have been filled or when the draw deck has been exhausted. At the end of the game, you'll go ahead and count up how many cards you've collected for each pot. Then you will add up your score and see how well you've done on this scoring sheet. As soon as you're done with this game, you can easily just draw out the last 36 cards you left behind previously. So therefore, you can play 2 games back to back. So one of the great things that I really love about Herbaceous is how simple it is, how elegant it looks as well. The art on it is just beautiful, and you just definitely want to play and continue collecting cards in sets. Now, The cool thing about this game is that you break apart that deck in half. So as soon as you finish one game, you have the other deck set up for you. So you can easily play back to back. So the games go fairly quickly, one after another. Another cool thing I really like about this game is the scoring set that's provided in the game. It'll tell you how well you've done. And the more and more you play, you can easily get better and better. However, it's always challenging because there's a certain element of pressing your luck with those card draws. You never know what you're going to get next, so therefore you're always second guessing where to place that herb, either in your private garden, your community garden, or just get rid of it and discard it. So if you don't have other players to play with, I would suggest trying out Herbaceous as a great solo game. The artwork is just simply beautiful, and it offers just enough push your luck as well as hand management and set collection in a simple little game.
Hello, it's Lindsay here, or as you might know me on Instagram, Shiny Hack Meeples, and this episode was talking solo games. I haven't played too many solo games yet. It's still a matter of, for me, of having the time to sit down and play, and I can't ever do anything on my own that's too long or too heavy. So this game I'm going to talk about is actually really perfect for solo play, and it's Mintworks. It's a really fabulous little worker placement game in a tin with cards and little minty tokens. It has a really fantastic AI option, so I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how you play Mintworks solo.
The solo rules to Mintworks are very much the same as the regular rules with a few differences. In this worker placement game, your aim is to use your mints, i.e. workers, on the core and D locations to accumulate more mints, buy plans and build them, and the plans worth VPs, number of stars printed on the buildings. And the first player to 7 VPs wins the game. You then have your plan supplier, the mint supplier, and take 3 mints and draw 2 plans from the supplier to begin with. You choose an AI opponent and take the allocated mints. Each round you have 2 turns. You can place a mint or pass. The AI will always choose to place in the first available mint space in a location line that it can use, starting with the producer, and if unable to place, it will pass. You buy plans according to the number of mints printed on them, and you do this using the supply location. Once built, a plan goes face down your play area, neighbourhood, but it's not worth its VPs until it's built, and you need to send your worker, mint, to the build location to do so. During the upkeep phase, you take all mints from the locations back to the supplier and gain a mint. Some of the plans have effects that will need to be resolved during the upkeep phase.
So that's just to give you an idea of how to play Mintworks. It's really, really enjoyable. I have a good laugh playing by myself, and games are pretty 10-15 minutes tops, so it's a lot that goes into that 10-15 minutes. And the designer, Justin Blaskey, actually has kind of like a sequel to Mintworks in the pipeline. And yeah, definitely recommend giving solo Mintworks a go. It's good fun. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
All right, so before we end the show, I wanted to speak a little bit about my segment. I had a hard time with this because I actually play a lot of games by myself. I play test a lot of games to learn the rules, and so that I know that when I bring it to my game group, I can teach them how to play and things go smoothly. So I think any game can be a solo game if you, as long as you like it. Obviously you'll have a harder time with party games, things like Time's Up or Witness or Cosmic Encounter, things like that. There are some games where you need a lot of player interaction from everybody else that you can't play by yourself. But for the most part, you can play just about any game solo and enjoy it. Even though you have to strategize against yourself, it's kind of neat to just sort of go through the motions and learn the mechanics and stuff. Santorini, for one, was a game that I play tested and I loved. I love playing it by myself. It's kind of like playing tic-tac-toe against yourself, but I learned it really quick, and I just couldn't wait to play it with another person live. With all that being said, though, if I had to pick a solo game, a singular solo game that I like to play by myself, it would have to be Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective by Astari Games and designed by, I don't know who designed it actually. I think this is like an older game, and it was like reprinted by Astari Games. Anyway, Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, comes with a London directory, a London map, some newspapers, and a bunch of case files, like 10 of them, I think, right? So what you do is you take the case files, you read the story, and then at some point you just go through the map and the directory and the newspapers, and you try to figure out the mystery. And you have a certain amount of turns to do it, and you're trying to beat Sherlock Holmes. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure, kind of, sort of. But there's a lot of puzzle stuff going on in it. It's really interesting. And if I had to play a game by myself, it's like reading a book, and it's a lot of fun if you like solving mysteries and stuff like that. Anyway, that's my pick for solo games. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and that you found something maybe that you didn't think about playing by yourself before. Thanks again, and join us next time on the Insta Gamers Network.